I, being a Seattle Seahawks fan, have had a very good week of football. It's been very fun in my world, and it's rubbing off on everybody else, right? Like, I'm just like, oh, football's fun.
I'm glad
I
you're
feel
having
bad for you
fun.
guys. I feel bad for you guys. Because
Why?
Gino's gonna make you pick mid-pack. You have a mediocre quarterback that's gonna give you a mediocre pick.
But Lisa, those Denver Broncos sure are giving us a top 5 pick. That's for sure.
That's true.
Lisa is not a fan of Gino.
I know she isn't, but
doesn't
I don't care because you know what? He's doing what I need him to do.
He's doing just fine.
He's doing just fine. Absolutely. Well, everyone, welcome. I'm so glad you're here with us again this week as we have a lot of fun topics to chat about. But first, before we get started, of course, we want to thank our sponsors, Stocky's Cheesesteaks up in New Jersey. This is their second year as our sponsor of our podcast. And I love all of the comments that you guys put under the pictures that we post on Twitter. Believe us, they are torturing us with those yummy looking pictures too. But we want to thank them. You have 3 locations in Medford, Mount Holly, and Camden. Go swing by any of those 3 locations in New Jersey and tell them the Outruff Girl sent you. And we appreciate them very much. Okay.
You know what else they should do?
What else should they do?
If they're watching us on Twitter, they should swing on over to our YouTube channel so that they can chat with us.
You. Camden isn't here to remind me. Oh, there's Camden in chat right there. Camden, you were too late. Kate beat you to it. All right. Yes, everyone. If you are watching us on Twitter, please go. Look at you just. Yes. Yes, I did. Absolutely. I did. Sure. Kate, gotcha. You are watching us over on Twitter. Please come on over to our YouTube channel while we are live. As you can see, we have a great group in our chat, and we like to post questions, comments, opinions on what we're talking about over here on live during the show. So please go ahead on over. Come check it out. And come play with us live because it's.
But keep the comments mostly clean, because if there's bad words, Dana has to read them. She can't put them on the screen. She's got to edit them.
I felt very bad about
we
that.
Had a couple bad words last week, so she
I know.
had to.
And I didn't disagree with those bad words. Let me just tell you that right now. But I'm trying to keep it somewhat friendly for our YouTube friends. Okay, everybody, let's talk about week 7. What a wild week. And Kate, you said something right before we started recording that we should pat ourselves on the back. Why should we pat ourselves on the back, Kate?
Because last week we spent an awful lot of time talking about what the heck is going on with Brady and Rodgers. They're not even top 10 quarterbacks this year. And this week, neither of them turned it around. They were both a hot mess. And I saw a lot of comments from both fan bases across a couple different social media platforms starting to ask the same questions. Are they done? Especially in Green Bay, is it time for Jordan Love? Is it time to let someone else, get under center and start figuring it out? So we questioned it last week.
You know what I saw that was so crazy to me is that in an interview, I think it was on Pat McAfee, because, Aaron Rodgers goes on Pat McAfee's show every single week. And he said that his quarterbacks coach or some coach told him he had his best statistical week he'd ever had, or that he'd had in years or something. And so the stats nerds, God love them, went and looked, and they were right. Somehow that he was great with his completion percentage and all these other things, all those things that, you can twist and mold to your will pretty much. And they said he had a great year, a great game. But here's the thing. He is not having a great game if his team is not having a great game. And they looked awful. They didn't look quite as awful, I thought, as Tampa Bay, which is falling apart in the at the seams. But yeah, it was apparently not so bad for Aaron Rodgers, but at the same time, he has to command that team, and he is not doing that.
It brings, for me, a lot of the play calling that's going on in Green Bay into question. On 3rd and 10, why are you throwing the ball to a guy on a 4-yard route? Yes, you completed the pass. Yes, you got 4 yards. Yay for you, but you needed 10.
Right.
So why are we calling plays for, you know what I mean? It's just.
But he also dirted passes too. I mean, you can sit down and look at the stats and say, but there were several passes that hit that dirt. Yeah. So, stats, I don't care about stats. I don't care. I want to win the game. I care if my quarterback those 400 yards. If we still lost the game, you still got a loss.
Well, that's the only stat that matters.
That's the only
did you win or did you lose? But
and you look at some of those plays, and I mean, 4 or 5 of those passes went in the dirt. I mean, that was so unlike Aaron. And listen, when is the last time that you saw them try something like a field goal instead of a Hail Mary, which he was so famous for?
I was shocked at that play.
So tell me something's not amiss there.
Yeah.
You passed up that opportunity. I don't know. Something's going on.
My son and I
wanted to be in the locker room today. I wanted to see what the other players thought of him making comments like, it wasn't me. I had the best week I've ever had.
Never me. It's never him. He never takes accountability. Never.
It's never him. Tom Brady didn't have. Oh, anyway, so the Packers did lose to the Commanders 21-23. The other superstar quarterback that had a bad week, that would be Tom Brady and those Buccaneers. 3 points, people. 3 points. They lost to the Panthers. The one win, Carolina Panthers, 21-3.
The NFC South is a hot mess this year.
Absolutely.
Hot mess.
I was so shocked at that game. I was so shocked. I dumped Brady today on the waiver wire. Out he goes.
Uh-oh.
He's not even back up. You're out. He's done.
You're gone.
Can't have it. But
not
here's
even a bye-week quarterback.
I am just like shocked at what I'm seeing on the field. Mike Evans dropped a whole bunch of balls, which is what Graham has said. It's just disastrous. And that breaks my heart for their head coach because he is a new head coach for them. And this is not on him. This is not on that coach. That they could care less on that team for some reason. It's just baffling to me. So, yeah. So pat on the back to us. We were right. It is time, gentlemen. It is time to call it a day. Then there was a whole conversation on Twitter today. Twitter and, their fantasticness. And we're going to talk about trades later. But they were talking about how there was like this 3-way tide where Garoppolo got to go back to New England. Tom Brady ended up in San Francisco so he could be home with his parents during his divorce. Yeah, because I'm sure that's a priority. And then Mac Jones ends up in Tampa Bay for their rebuild. I don't know. It was crazy. It was crazy. Supposedly Tampa Bay's not, of course they're not getting rid of Tom Brady, but it's baffling to me. All right. So other games that were really fun to watch, for some, not so fun for the other ones. The Saints-Cardinals game, high scoring. I mean, finally, a Thursday night game that we could enjoy. The Cardinals won 42-34. It was more than a field goal fest, and that was just wonderful to watch. We had Kate, I know this was not fun for you, but the Browns-Ravens game was enjoyable to watch as someone not attached to it. The Ravens won 23-20. What is going on with Cleveland?
So first of all, it was never that close.
Fair.
Like, it was never that close. A lot of complaints about the referees calling the Browns for being offsides on the field goal kick, which moved us back 5 yards. I've seen the video from every angle possible. I don't see that football move. I don't see it move. And the problem I have is that's not something that's reviewable. And when you have a whole bunch of refs seeing movement and they call something, they're hoping somebody knows where the movement started. And I think, in my opinion, as a complete homer, that was the Ravens players selling that the Browns moved, and the refs bought it. And I don't want to say it cost us the game because it should never come down to that, right? It should never come down to one play or one call. Nick Chubb only carried the ball 16 times. He carried the ball 12 times the week before. I don't know why we're not running the ball. There's a huge movement, and I'm starting it, that Alex Van Pelt should be calling some of our offensive series. At least give him the 2-minute drills. It's me. I said it on my radio show in Cleveland last night. I will own it and say it. I think it's too much for Kevin Stefanski to do everything, and we need to mix things up with the play calling and let AVP call a series here and there. Mix it up, throw it in. Something.
I have a question. Do you think some part of this has anything to do with Deshaun Watson? Do you think it's just we're just doing this until Deshaun gets in here? I mean, where's the thinking? I mean, because it looks so off, and it looks like they're just like in cruise mode till their savior comes to me.
That's the excuse they're using. That's the safety net they're using. We've had a ton of injuries. We had Myles Garrett had that car accident. He was out for a couple weeks. Jadeveon Clowney was out. Denzel Ward's out with concussion. So that's hurting my defense. We lost David Njoku this week with an ankle injury. We lost another player whose name I can't remember off the top of my head, but he tore his pec and he's on IR now. Like, we've had some injuries, but the lack of consistency. The problem is aside from the Patriots game where we got blown out, we've lost these games by like 2-3 points. And so everyone thinks we're so close. And I'm like, are you watching the game? Because I don't feel like we're in control of it at all. And it's coming down to one drive at the end of the game. Either the offense needs to score or the defense needs to hold them. And they're not doing it. They can't play for 60 minutes. There was a little bit of talk early in the year of if they're 8-3 when Watson comes back, does he get to play? And that talk has gone completely out the window. Everyone is just counting down the weeks until there is no. We have given up on Jacoby Brissett. His decision making in the taking a sack. I get the interceptions happen, balls get tipped, receivers drop balls, things happen. You as a veteran quarterback cannot give up a sack when you're in field goal range at the end of a game. You can't. You got to be able to get rid of that. And he's not. He's changed from like week 4 till now, which has only been a couple weeks, but this team has regressed. And so I don't know if they're just coasting until Watson comes back or if that's the excuse. They're like, oh, we'll be fine when Watson's here.
Right. So I put out a question to the entire group. Will Watson come in and save the day? Obviously, the first part of that question is it depends on how deep the hole is, right? Obviously. But there's a lot of people who are saying no because, and I kind of agree with them. Just because, like Camden says, it's a team problem. And then this is, will they run even less when Watson takes over? Will he get suspended again? I don't think he'll get suspended again. I think they'll be taken care of next year. But the first part of that question, Graham, is really good. Will they run even less when Watson comes in? And Kate, as you have said, since the day they signed him, you have no idea what he looks like on a football field because he hasn't played in forever. I know. Right. It's going to be interesting.
So we were hoping the running game would help with that. And now I'm hearing rumors about them trading Kareem Hunt at the deadline. And I'm like, all right, I get that you're not they don't put Nick Chubb out in passing situations. They'll put Hunt in the backfield. They don't like to throw to Chubb. But if you don't put him out there, then the defense doesn't have to worry about him, right? So you put him out there and make them worry. And then you've got Hunt to throw the ball to, or you do something. I mean, you just have all these options. You need to have a strong running game. If you're going to bring a quarterback in week 12 who hasn't played in almost 2 years, you need to have the safety of a running game. And we haven't established it. So I don't know. The NFC North is a hot mess. The Bengals are better than their record of 4-3. I don't think the Ravens are as good as their record of 4-3. And then we're just sitting down here at the bottom, with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's trying to get a quarterback. So, we're just sitting down here with them. Monday night's going to be brutal with the whole world. Maybe everyone will be trick-or-treating and it'll just be the Eastern time zone people that'll be home to watch the Browns take on the Cincinnati Bengals. That game's a crapshoot, right? We were in Cincinnati's heads last year. We swept them last year and they still had an amazing season and went to the Super Bowl. So I don't know what to expect on Monday night. I got nothing. I'm just hoping all the West Coast people are trick-or-treating and don't watch Monday Night Football.
Let's see. It seems like they're sitting back waiting for Watson instead of using what they have. Agree with that, David, completely. Camden, we're going to save your question because I've got that for later. When we talk about some trade stuff. Okay. I want to touch on the Chicago Bears just a little bit. Sonia's actually going to write an article. We'll have that up for you tomorrow about the Bears because she was impressed with what they did on Monday Night Football. The Bears beat the Patriots 33-14, had probably their best game of the season. I think if you look at it statistically and everything that they did. So the question that she kind of was putting out there was, have they shaken off that rust? Are they turning things around? I have a very strong opinion about that, but I'm going to let Lisa go first. Lisa, what are your thoughts on the Browns?
Well,
the Browns, the Bears.
The Bears. I honestly think that you saw two teams. You certainly see one team that is certainly on the up, and that's going to be the Chicago Bears, right? Let's say they got Justin Fields. We got some things set. To work on some offensive things, but they looked very sharp, very crisp. Justin made some great decisions, took care of the ball, a couple, missed opportunities in the first half. On the other side of the ball, I think you're seeing a flux in quarterback issues with Bill Belichick. I mean, you saw, and I'm going to touch on this with Kate because I don't know if maybe Deshaun Watson might have this effect, but you saw the players, how they just responded to Bailey Zappi. I mean, and everybody's always saying in football world, you're crazy. A player can't, elevate a team. You watched it
Oh,
firsthand last night. I am sorry. When Bailey Zappi came in, that was a different team, regardless of the outcome. So I think you're going to see, it's going to be interesting. And Dana, I know you got the trades talk coming up later on, and I'll save that for that. But it's going to be interesting. But I still think the Bears have to prove to me, you have to beat a winning team with a good quarterback. And then I'll start to believe. I don't know if it was just them. They had a great night. I think everything worked for them. I just thought the Patriots were in a little bit of a flux right now.
Yeah, I agree with both of those. Kate, I don't know. Camden brought up a good point that they had very good designed runs for Justin Fields, and it was it seemed like in this game they finally decided to use him appropriately. I just don't know if that's sustainable. So that's kind of the conflict. But in this game, they really seemed to play to his strengths and the Patriots' weaknesses.
Agreed. This game reminded me a lot of when I watched him play at Ohio State. It looked like the same kind of offense that he ran here. He ran for 82 yards and a rushing touchdown. He threw for a touchdown and threw for an interception. But, I had the Bears defense on fantasy football, so I was just loving every interception they got last night. That defense came to play. You're right. It is a weaker opponent, but you need to beat those teams, and they did. But I think maybe – to your point, it looks like now that we're in Justin's second year, he's gotten more comfortable. They're trusting him with more, and they're actually giving him some plays that he's good at to help build his confidence so that they can stretch the playbook even farther with him.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what Sonia says about it. I think it's kind of what I said before. It's like they decided to finally just say, okay, he can run the ball. He's insanely fast. Let him just do it. We just don't know how long that'll last. And so
for me, he reminds me in that scenario of Lamar Jackson. We didn't think Lamar was going to be able to keep running, and Lamar defenses still cannot account for him. Lamar's going to keep running until injuries take him out of the game. And Justin might be the same thing. If he can stay healthy, he might be able to continue running for a while.
I agree. They just don't have any other weapons, and the Ravens do. So I think that's a little bit of the difference is they can shake it up just a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, they need a running back or a wide receiver that defenses have to double up on.
That Roquan Smith, woo! He got me some good fantasy points, sir. I love that very much. All right. We have had this little series. We've done 2 head coaches so far where we look at the new head coaches in the league and see kind of how they're doing. We wanted to spread this out over the season to give some coaches to kind of settle in and we did Nathaniel Hackett first, and I'm glad we did because it doesn't look like he's changing it. Did Josh
he hired help after our show. He must have listened to us.
I know, right? We did Josh McDaniel last time we did this, and the Raiders looked much better in this game. Granted, they played the Texans, but I don't think the Texans are as bad as everyone thinks they are. And so this week we're going to do Brian Daboll, and that's because holy crap, everyone is talking about him, possible coach of the year. He has taken the Giants team that no one expected to do anything. I have been last in their division in our prediction show, and turned them into a 6-1 football team. Kate, I know that you were looking at him and looking at Daboll. It is fascinating to me what he has done with this team, even outside of Saquon Barkley, because yes, we know who Saquon Barkley is.
Well, Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has shown a lot of improvement this year where he was shaky last year. They're, 6-1, technically in second place in their division because the Eagles had a bye. So, yeah. So, they're doing really well. For a dude that's born in Canada, he understands the game, and he's been around a really long time. He's been in Cleveland. He's been in Miami. He's been in, New England. He's been, wide receivers coach, offensive coordinator. Left the NFL for a little bit and was in Alabama as an offensive coordinator there before he came back to be the offensive coordinator for the Bills. And I was worried this year that he was going to be another one of those OC head coaches who focuses too much on the offense and calling plays and doing all that stuff and doesn't really handle timeouts and decisions and all the other things that, I criticize Kevin Stefanski for doing it, and there's some other coaches. And that really has not been the case. He has been overall in charge of these games, and I haven't seen any issues. We haven't talked at any weeks about, can you believe what he did? And his clock management is terrible. And what's he doing with it? he's been around long enough for someone who hasn't been a head coach that it seems like he's got a little more experience. But I think Saquon Barkley stepping up his game has helped and being healthy. But I'm of the belief that what Brian Daboll has done is he has really worked with Daniel Jones and has given him his support and helped him with his confidence and helped him pick up what he needed to do with his footwork and some of the other things that he's been working on and really improved his game. They're not blowing people out. Their wins are, 3 points and 6 point wins, but they're winning.
Yeah.
And winning is contagious. The same way that losing can cause, skid down to, Ophir. Winning you can get that momentum going, and he's just done a very nice job managing the personalities and the talents on this team.
And that's something that he really needed to do, because there was kind of this black cloud, right? Like over this team, and he's really shaken that off. And we need to give Saquon Barkley as much credit as he absolutely deserves. He is the leader of that team, and that's no disrespect to Daniel Jones at all. But Brian Daboll's let him do it. He's like, no, he has been trying to get the, Saquon going forever. And now Saquon is healthy. Oh my God. How many seasons? Do we even think he could ever do it again? And he's really doing it. I hope he stays healthy the whole season. I think that would be great. And then we had this question, says, question to our turf, is Brian Daboll a candidate for coach of the year? I think he's at the front of the pack right now. I would, absolutely. I think that there are some other coaches that need to be looked at for sure, but taking, what he had, and to be honest with you, there's not a ton of talent on that team, and getting what he's been getting out of them is pretty impressive.
Yeah, but they haven't played anybody. I mean, look at their
They beat the Packers in London.
Oh my God, look at the Packers. Look at the Packers now.
What? They beat the Packers.
Tell me a team that they beat. Tell me a team that beats that's impressive.
I gotta look up their whole
thing. They beat the Titans.
There's only one.
They beat the Panthers. They beat the Bears, and they beat the Ravens.
Panthers were crap.
They beat the Ravens.
And they beat Jacksonville.
You just said yourself, Kate, you thought the Ravens were subpar now.
But let's talk about their schedule. Next up, they have Seattle. Then they have Houston. Then they have Detroit. They don't have a difficult schedule.
The NFC East doesn't.
Their schedule's helping them
easily. NFC East, their division games are the toughest games on their schedule.
Yep. Honest to God, you want to talk about a schedule? Go look at the rest of the Eagles' schedule. I'll be surprised if they lose a game.
Yeah.
It's cakewalk. It's cakewalk. It's insane. Insane.
And so I agree that Brian Daboll's absolutely in the conversation for coach of the year. The other person that I will throw out there, if they continue the way they're playing, is Robert Saleh and the New York Jets.
Yep. I agree.
The Jets are 5-2, and I don't have a single fantasy player on any of my 3 leagues that's a Jet. I don't know who's doing it. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how they're doing it. But if they continue, I think those two have really turned around teams that nobody had any faith in for this year.
Yep, absolutely. The only other one I'd throw in there is Pete Carroll,
because
I'm a homer.
Teams that have lost quarterbacks, so you're going to go with schedule there too, because they played the Broncos without Russell Wilson. They played the Dolphins without Tua. They played the Dolphins. That was a bad thing for the quarterback. So I mean, see, you got to think of that. So
I agree with you, Lisa, but it's still impressive. It's still impressive that they're winning. They're beating the teams they should be beating. So yeah. I don't know. She's just salty, but I don't know. Anyway, all right. So let's move on. So let's switch from coaches that are doing amazing things to coaches that are in trouble, possibly. Like their seat's a little warm, their tush is a little tingly. What is going on with some of these? Okay, so let's start with Staley. Lisa, I don't think I agree with that, because you know what? That team has been decimated by injury.
But let me tell you one of his issues, and my coach is going to be thrown in there with him. You have to take points. You have to stop this fourth. He is horrible. And
he loves down.
He does. And you know what? There's a guy named Sean Payton that's in the backfield, in the shadows, that would love to take a quarterback like Justin Herbert. So this dude better start kicking some field goals. And I'll throw my coach in there. When you have a chance to go up 2 scores, take the points. I mean, analytics, are you serious?
Yeah.
I mean, and Brandon Staley is going to cost himself a job if he doesn't smarten up and start taking points. I understand you want to give your team a charge, but you can't get those points back. Mm-hmm. And all that does is when you don't get it, all that does is change the momentum of the whole game. And he's cost himself 2 games that he easily went for it on 4th down when he should have taken the points and won the game. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing. And when you have coaches like Sean Payton that's in the background, Eric Bieniemy, he's going to be a head coach here somewhere.
Maybe. So, how long have we heard that name floating out there? I'm telling you.
I know. He deserves a shot. But, I mean, when you look, and Frank Reich's another one, that dude's seat is as hot as any of them. Because you got some issues going on in Indy. So, Nathaniel Hackett, I honestly believe is going to be a one-and-done coach.
I don't know that he makes it through the season. I think that new ownership in Denver is already, there's already conversation. We're going to talk about trades and stuff here in a minute. There's already conversations about gutting that team. How do you gut a team when you're paying a quarterback $50 million a year? That's a 30-minute rant from Dana, but I'm just going to say that there's already that conversation. So that makes me wonder if he is already, we know his seat is hot. But I think it's smoking hot. I don't know that he makes it to week. I mean, how often does that happen? How often do that? I mean, they cut a first-year coach before his first year is even up. I don't know if they'll do it out of principle, but
even in Cleveland, we let him finish the first year.
Yeah, right.
It's true.
I'm still struggling with the Panthers firing their coach. 4 weeks in, I don't know what the point is. I don't know what you hope to accomplish or what you think, what good, unless that coach is doing something detrimental. Mm-hmm. We had this argument about Urban Meyer last year. The things that he was doing were detrimental to that locker room and that team.
And we don't know.
I don't know what was going on in Carolina. I'm worried about Lovie Smith, but only they got 1 win down there in Houston. And I'm hoping that they understand that team was decimated and you got rid of Deshaun Watson. And I think they're playing in that draft lottery, trying to get themselves a top pick. And so maybe that'll cushion it for, because I have loved him everywhere he's been. And I would hate to see him go. I wish they could trade head coaches the way they trade players.
They can.
Because there'd be some coaches on the hot seat that can be up for trades.
Yep. They can trade that in.
Especially because some of these guys, I think, at a different team with different owners and different talent, their coaching styles work. Their coaching styles don't work where they're at.
But do you think there's an underlying issue where some players actually just didn't care for the coach and how he was coaching? Because I mean, when you look, you trade the Panthers traded Christian McCaffrey, got rid of Robbie Anderson, fired their coach, put DJ in a quarterback. That was a different team I watched. That was a whole different team. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to
Aaron
say
Rodgers and Mike McCarthy.
Let him finish.
Mike McCarthy's doing fine now that he it was him or Aaron in Green Bay, and I think it was.
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah. It's fair. Graham says it feels like Frank Reich played a hat game. The hat game. Oh, the hat game with his quarterbacks this week. Pulled the name out of. Will try and show us that they're going to the Super Bowl now. I don't know what happened. I feel bad for Matt Ryan. He probably should have just retired and kept his name. But Camden says, "Oh my God, put Lovie in Denver." Could you imagine Lovie and Russell Wilson?
Yes, I could.
That would be so fun to watch.
We'd be going to church.
Totally,
we'd be literally going to church.
But that brings up that gives an interesting topic here with Sean Payton. Would the Broncos fire him, Hackett, now to get him in place before all the other teams dump their coaches at the end of the season? I mean, he's a hot hand right now. He's a hot name.
Here's the thing.
Would you take the chance?
I've seen that argument on Twitter. And the most logical thing is that he would not be interested in that team. That is not his type of. It's not his type of quarterback. The team has a lot of holes. I don't know that he wants to come in to that. I would see where Peyton would want to come in to something more along the Chargers, where you have that massive amount of talent that has just been untapped. I think Denver has a little bit more of a build left in them for Sean Payton to go in, because he can do whatever the hell he wants. So why would he not? You know what I mean? He can pick and choose.
But I would say that it would be a case, because I think if you called his agent and he was interested, I think Hack would be fired tomorrow.
Agreed.
Did teams avoid having to having to comply with the Rooney Rule if they do it midseason?
No, I think it's still the same.
Still the same, right?
Yeah, they can announce an interim, but I think that it's still the same. So at that point, for an actual head coach, okay. So many. We're going to talk about this again in a few weeks, because it's going to get worse. It's going to get real worse. There's going to be more. Somebody else going to get fired. You know how that works. So I want to talk a little bit about the salary cap. Lisa, was it you or Kate that put the unicorn that said the salary cap was real? That was.
Graham started it.
Graham. Here's the thing.
Not real, folks. Not real.
Okay.
He did this gif, salary cap. And then I said the salary cap is real, and then I put a picture of a unicorn with the rainbow, just because I know we joke about it.
We like to joke. Our good friend Miguel.
He's like, these girls drive me crazy.
He really does. We drive him insane because we say it's not real. But here's the thing, you guys. So Field Yates, that you guys know, he's on Twitter, put out that basically where the cap is right now as of everything that's been processed. So I'm not sure if it includes McCaffrey, but I think it does because he put it up today. That who has the most cap space right now? Who? Sitting at number one is the Browns at 33 million.
Okay.
Then the Panthers, the Eagles at 9 million. It drops pretty quick after the Browns. And then the Falcons, the Raiders, the Broncos, the Cowboys, the Colts, the Steelers, the Bears, the Packers, all at above 6 million.
Where did we go?
The Dolphins are at 5.
Okay, yeah, I knew we were up there a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. Now, the Jets were at 5 million pre-Robinson trade. That happened. The Cardinals are at 5. Commanders, Chargers, Niners, Bucks, Jags, Saints, all above 3.5 million. Then it goes Chiefs, Bengals, Seahawks, Lions, Ravens, all above 3 million. Then Giants, Rams, Texans, Titans, Bills, all above 2 million. Patriots, the Vikings. The Vikings at 32, 1.3 million is all they have right now. Oh, poor little Vikings. So here's the reason why I put that out there is because I wanted to look and see with this trade deadline coming up, and it is coming up just right around the corner, which teams out there might be looking to make a splash. Now, we already saw Christian McCaffrey. I think that's probably going to be the biggest one of the season, unless there's some insane thing that happens.
The Jets.
The Jets got Robinson.
Got Robinson.
Yep. And but I think that McCaffrey trade signaled something to a lot of other teams, and it is that if you are truly rebuilding, you can get rid of some of your bigger guys. And that, because who would have ever thought that the Panthers would get rid of him even if they were rebuilding? Well, they do. They want to start from scratch, and I don't blame them in any way, shape, or form. So McCaffrey went. There was a bit of a bidding war with him. I think there was 4 teams. It really came down to San Francisco and the Rams. And I don't know if you guys remember, but a couple of years ago, there was a bidding war between San Francisco and the Rams for Matt Stafford. And the Rams won that bidding war. Well, this time San Francisco came out on top. And Sean McVay has now been quoted as quite the expletive when he found out McCaffrey was going to San Francisco. He really wanted him there. Here's the thing with McCaffrey. He's played 16 games in 3 seasons. Well, 17 now as of this weekend in 3 season injuries, right? We all know that about him. They gave up a 2023 second, third, and fourth round draft pick and a 24 fifth round draft pick.
Yikes.
Yes. All of it. I don't think San Francisco drafts until the end of Saturday for the draft next year. It's seriously, they gutted it. And then McCaffrey did play. Granted, he was there 2 days, people, so we have to give him a minute, right, to catch up. But he had 8 attempts, 38 yards, 2 receptions. We aren't going to know how that trade has worked out for them for a while. I mean, it could be, I'm assuming it's going to be good. They needed more of a run game with Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterback. No shade to Jimmy. Well, yeah, a little shade to Jimmy. But here's the thing.
Help for Jimmy.
It is a huge help for Jimmy. It's a good the San Francisco defense is fantastic. It's the offense that has always been lacking. Well, and so
win championships. So, you got to break that offense up.
Yeah, I don't think that's true. But so interesting to me. I was wondering if you guys think of any other teams. So I did a little looking of other teams that might be kind of in the mix for either getting rid of players or
wanting players
trading for. So
I'm with Kate. I think every team needs somebody. The injuries this year have been crazy.
Fair.
Listen, do you know any cornerbacks? Cornerbacks took a massive hit this weekend.
Yeah.
And I heard that the Brown's cornerback was on the market along with Hunt. I think you're going to get a lot of teams interested there. And I think going along with Watson, looking at Hunt, looking at that cornerback, I forgot his name, Kate, that they're shopping.
Williams.
Yeah.
He looks like Chris Rock.
Yeah, does he really? So I think that's going to be interesting, but
they can't afford to get rid of him, and they can't afford to get rid of him until they figure out what's going on with Denzel Ward. We're in the last year of the contracts for Denzel Ward and Kareem Hunt, so if they want to move him, they can move him. The cap space looks really good for this year because you're only paying Deshaun Watson $1 million. Mm-hmm. Next year's cap is the problem, and I think that's going to make it harder for them to pick. There you go.
Yep.
That's going to make it harder for them to get a free agent to want to sign here, because they can't do anything long term. Or if they do a trade, it's going to be just a 1-year deal. I think it's going to be hard for them to pick up somebody on a multi-year deal unless they can rework that deal.
Right.
I think the Chargers need to do something because they are incredibly
injury-wise
this year.
Well, and injury-wise, they're just absolutely gutted, much like the Rams' offensive line. I don't think anyone's trading offensive linemen because they're just too precious if they're any good. So I don't think anyone's going to be doing that. The other team that's in a lot of conversations, it was rumored today that Bradley Chubb would be traded if they lost to the Jaguars this next week. Like it's his fault. It's all your fault. We're going to trade you. They've also had conversations about Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, along of other players that might be traded out. As Denver tries to retool a little bit. The Texans have received calls about trading Brandon Cooks. Apparently there was a rumor. Was reported that the Panthers turned down an offer of 2 first-round draft picks for Brian Burns, the pass rusher, which would be very surprising to me. Yeah, I that would be very surprising. I don't know what the heck they want for him. But they've also talked about trading out Moore also. Elijah Moore, the Jets wide receiver, has said he has asked for a trade and did not play this last week. Apparently the cornerback William Jackson out of Washington also wants to be traded. And so there's lots of people. Cam Akers is wanting to be traded. There's a lot of options out there. I just don't know how busy these teams are going to be. But if you look at the records, ladies, the records right now, there's a lot of mediocre football being played right now. There is a lot of 500 level teams. I mean, look at half the league is 3-4 or 4-3, right? Like it's so middle of the road. The Eagles are really the only ones standing out, the Giants, a couple of other teams. And I think we're going to see that shake up as some of these teams kind of move down the line. But I don't know if there will be big splash trades right at the deadline, because I don't know how much of an impact it will make, because you're already at 4-3 and 3-4. I don't know. It's interesting to me. I just don't get a feeling.
Think we'll see a surprise?
I don't know. I just don't get the gut feeling that there's going to be anything huge this year. I'm going to put it out to our chat too. Do you guys think of any trades that, could be coming or that you would like to see? Lisa, what about Miami?
Teams that need help. Well, we need quarterback help. Our cornerbacks are we had a great cornerback stable coming in. Now we're just depleted. Byron Jones, we don't know what's going on. Brandon Jones is out. He's on IR now. So our secondary, went from Studville to Nothingville.
Right.
In a matter of just a couple games. So I know Miami, we brought in a veteran cornerback. I don't know if Graham could. I forgot who it was. We brought it, so we're looking. We're actively looking. So when I heard the Browns, talking about greedy. So
he's greedy for the ball.
Yeah, there you go. We'll see. So Dana's muted. You're muted.
Look, I was trying to be all good and be muted. Sorry. Here's the thing. If I had to say anything for Seattle, I think that they would probably could get another running back, although Travis Homer is coming back, because if Walker goes down, oh God, we already lost Rashad Penny for the year. I think that there are some other teams. I don't know of any teams though. And Kate, this is my question for you, that are just one player away from making them a complete team. Do you know what I mean? I just don't get that feeling.
Yeah. And when I was looking through the teams today, I was looking at it more from the perspective of which teams need a quarterback. that might want to unload talent to get more draft picks to make a move in the draft to go up and get one. So we may have a lot of teams that are willing to make trades, but nobody that's willing to pay the price to get the player, because you're right, none of them are just one away. Unless we want to talk about the 49ers some more. What did they need? Because that deal for McCaffrey just sent me back to last year in the Rams going after all those guys they went after, and it paid off, and they won the Super Bowl. And so maybe the 49ers are sitting back going, listen, it worked for them, and Jimmy ended up coming in and saving the day, and look at how well he's playing. Let's get some more help. Moving McCaffrey in was a rough week this week because he's only been there 2 days.
Yeah.
But he's a running back. He don't have to learn routes. He'll pick up that playbook quick.
You'd have to think defense for the 49ers.
I'm thinking defense. That's why I'm trying to think of what.
But they're already so strong defensively. And we have to remember, ladies, the San Francisco 49ers have nothing to give. They have nothing to give right now, pick-wise. And if that's what teams are looking for, San Francisco does not have it. They just don't.
So I think a lot of these lower tier teams are going to be willing to move players to just gut and rebuild. Either it's going to be a soft market where they're not going to get top asking price for these to move them, or we're not going to see anybody moving because nobody's willing to pay.
Right. No one is willing to pay. And with this draft coming up, yes, there are the quarterbacks that keep getting all the attention. This is a very deep defensive draft too, from everything I've been reading. And so this could be a draft where they want to hold on, right? They're just wanting to hold on to those picks for sure. Stack them up, people. Stack them up.
Stack and rack.
For sure. All right, everyone. Well, that is our show for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We will be back again next Tuesday right here on YouTube and on Twitter. But like I said before, come to YouTube. Come hang out with us over here.
Yes,
Chit chat with us. We love it. It's so much fun. Make sure that you follow us on Thursday, Sunday, and Monday, actually, as we cover every single game. You'll be kept up to date with all the scores and everything.
We have a London game this weekend?
There is a London game.
Oh,
yes.
man.
The Broncos and the Jags, I think, are this weekend. Yeah. Early morning.
At least there's no Friday games this year. That's not till next year.
Lord, don't get me started.
Good Lord.
All right, everyone. We will see you again next Tuesday. Thanks for hanging out with us. Bye-bye.